Aaron, thanks for letting me come on and talk with you here today. So let's jump right in, man. I want to ask you a question. It's a question that you've been privately asked via text message and Facebook messages for a couple months now. And the question is, what the heck were you doing in Gary Keller's office a couple months ago after joining eXp Realty several months before that?
Yeah, a lot of people have been reaching out to me because we joined eXp in June of 2018. And in November, I actually met privately with Gary Keller in his office after spending an entire day learning all about his opinion on the future of the business and the technology that Keller Williams is coming out with. And so people were asking me, what happened? Well, let's go back to a time in late October. I was reached out to by a mutual friend. He's in Gary Keller's close circle. And essentially he said, hey, man, the man would like to meet with you. And so, Fred, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do. I reached out to you right away and I was like, dude, I'm really happy with eXp. I don't want to go anywhere. But, you know, when the man who built the largest brokerage that the world has ever known offers to fly you out and put you up in Austin, Texas, and meet with you personally, like I'd meet with the owner of just about any real estate company. What an honor to take that. And I wasn't asking for your permission, but I was asking for your blessing because I definitely respect Group 4610 and I love eXp. So fast forward, of course I said yes. And I disclosed, you know, I'm really happy with eXp. And so if he wants to fly me out, that's great. But I'm definitely going to take you up on that offer. Just know I'm not planning on making any changes. And so I wanted to be upfront and honest with them as well. And so I got flown out, I got put up, and I spent the day in what they call their Keller Williams labs, which at Keller Williams in Austin, Texas, the international headquarters, is a room of about 200 people. And so I definitely wasn't alone. And Gary Keller had talked for about 2.5 hours on his impression of the business and where it's heading, and what he's doing for Keller Williams and its agents, which is great, you know. And let me start out by saying Keller Williams is an awesome company, and this isn't a KW bashing session. There's a company for everyone out there, but we're just going to be real and talk to you about our opinions here. And then for about 2.5 hours, Josh Team, who's now the president of Keller Williams, got up and talked about the technology that Keller Williams is rolling out with. And we saw screenshots and videos of all the money that they're investing in, what it's going to look like when it works. So it wasn't actually launched yet. It was in beta, some parts of it, but the rest of it wasn't launched yet. And then, so I got a text message. This is the weirdest thing and the craziest thing. I got a text message from Gary Keller. I was just so honored. I just still can't even believe it. I got a text message from him just before Josh Team was finished speaking, and he said, hey, meet me by the phone booth that's outside of my office. He has a really cool phone booth from the UK. I mean, it's just a souvenir for him. It's not a real operating phone booth. And I met him there, and a bunch of people stopped to take pictures with him. And then he said, okay, we got to go. Come on inside. And I walked into Gary Keller's private office. We got some LaCroix, and I sat down on his couch. He was in the chair, and we just talked for 2 hours solid.
Wow, 2 hours in Gary Keller's office.
Alone with Gary Keller. It was crazy. It was actually pretty awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize here. So you were reached out to by somebody that said Gary Keller would like to meet with you, knowing that you were at eXp, but Gary Keller had heard great things about you. You obviously have a respect and admiration for him. And so you spent a day in Austin, Texas in a lab learning about technology that at the time had not yet been released, and most of it still has not, although some is now out. And then got 2 hours of a private meeting with Gary Keller in his office. So after all that, Aaron, I mean, I think some people would want to know, like, I mean, you stayed at eXp. I guess maybe the next question I'll ask you, and I'm not going to insert my opinion just yet, but the next question is why? I mean, you know, obviously what I've heard from you is you respect some of the things they're doing. This is not a bash session on what they have and what they don't and what works and what doesn't, but this is more of you just kind of sharing the story that so many people have wanted to hear you share. So why'd you stay with eXp? I mean, what was it? What is it about eXp that that has retained you, if you will, that even Gary Keller himself couldn't talk you out of leaving the company, if I could say it that way.
Oh man. And by the way, I did sign an NDA and I completely want to respect that. So some of the content of the conversation we had after we had the NDA will not be disclosed here, but I will highlight that he made some really compelling reasons as to why I should come back to Keller Williams. And I had to think hard about it. The reality is I have an obligation to my family to make the money that we need to live the life that we want to live and give what we want to give. And it was a really, really attractive opportunity that he was putting before me. And I'm really grateful and appreciative of that. Ultimately, what it came down to was the math, as well as the future of where I think the business is going. I mean, the guy's a billionaire, and he's one of the most prominent men, if not almost the most prominent man in real estate. And so I respect him completely, but I don't always agree with what he's saying and the direction that Keller Williams is going. And a lot of times, I would answer a question, but he would interrupt me and, go off into the Keller Williams, the spiel. And he's very good at it, but I didn't always agree with it. So in short, it was the opportunities that EXP gave to me. I see the value in staying at EXP more than the value in going back to Keller Williams. It includes, It's a great place to sell real estate, first and foremost. That's the cake. The technology that EXP already has and is also coming out with is amazing, as well as the opportunity. I'm going to sell real estate whether I'm at Keller Williams or EXP or ABC Realty. I want to go to the company that's going to support me the most in selling the most amount of real estate I can and helping people with the biggest purchase of their lives. I also want to make the most amount of money and have a happy life, high quality of life for my family. And so the frosting to the cake is the stock awards. That's a great opportunity to have another investment vehicle for my future and retirement, as well as, of course, the revenue share opportunity that's on the table as well.
Got it. Well, I want to say this, Aaron. There's going to be some people that won't even watch this video, won't listen to what we said, and are going to instantly judge us for potentially bashing Keller Williams, which is, I know, not your heart and not my heart. I also want to say that we're not here to say that eXp Realty is the right place for everybody, because I don't believe it is. But I think it's just interesting that you got maybe the greatest sneak peek behind the scenes and maybe the most intimate and personal one of anybody that I know recently, and still remained at eXp, which to me speaks to a lot of just the value and the opportunity that's at eXp Realty. And so many times the narrative around eXp is that it's all about revenue share and it's all about stock. But I know you and I, we tend to be guys that are actually kind of turned off by some of our fellow eXp agents who have revenue share breath, as I like to call it. And I respect and love the passion that people have. I respect Gary Keller's passion. I don't agree with a lot of what he's doing. I respect the passion of many eXp fellow agents of ours, but I don't necessarily always agree with their approach. But I know that, one thing is that you can just get kind of so excited about a model, if you will, at eXp Realty that you can find yourself maybe doing it a disservice by presenting it the wrong way. And so I say that just because I think sometimes people immediately turn off to what Keller Williams is doing because of their bias, or they turn off to what eXp is doing because they have a bias around how one person talked to them about the company. But I just think that it speaks a lot of volumes, man. You're a guy who has been in a couple different brokerages in your career. You've been licensed for a long time. You've been in the investment world. You co-own a technology company called Renav in Colorado, are well respected in the market across a lot of different brands. And so it says a lot to me about the fact that you see so much value in eXp. And I think, I'll let you kind of share any other thoughts you have. If you don't mind, I'd kind of like to share some of my thoughts on maybe eXp technology versus KW, because there's people that have seen neither. There's people that have only seen one side of it. And I think maybe we could just draw out some differences, not a slam session on one is greater than the other and is a one size fits all for everybody. But I think there are some distinct differences between the approaches of the two companies.
Yeah, I'd love to chat about that. And maybe let's take a step back for a second, because I also want to add value to the people that are watching and share some of the things that I learned from labs publicly that you all might get some value out of that I agree with, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this as well, Fred. So one of the things that Gary had started labs talking about was, and I'm trying to quote, but I might be paraphrasing. He said, "Our industry is an absolute transformational change. We're in a pivotal moment where the choices you make are a vote for what you want to see for the future." Now, I love that, and I half agree with that. I agree with our industry is an absolute transformational change, and we're in a pivotal moment. And also, I believe that that Keller Williams is putting so much money. They're investing. He's committed to investing $1 billion in technology, and so he's saying that the choices you make are a vote for what you want to see for the future. My opinion on that is you have no control over the future. You have no control over the technology that's coming, whether you like it or not, whether you want to bash it or not. Us real estate agents are so protective of the data, as we should be. And we're so protective of other companies that are trying to come in and get business or take it away from us. You can't control that. And my opinion is whatever brokerage you're at actually doesn't matter as much as the service and value that you're providing to the client.
Yeah, it's about your relationship with the client more than the set of tools that you're getting at the brokerage. Now, the brokerage set of tools should probably somewhat be in alignment with how you feel about the industry and the support you're getting. But I do agree with you. I was kind of smiling when you said the $1 billion, because a lot of people have misinterpreted that. First of all, Gary has not yet spent $1 billion. He has stated that he'll spend, somewhere between 50 and 100 million. I've heard different numbers on a yearly basis over the next 10 to 20 years. Also, I've tried to build a little bit of our own technology. I've never come anywhere close to millions of dollars, but Kevin and I at Group 4610 have spent a couple $100,000 on some technology stuff that we built in the last few years. And I know that money only goes so far as well. And so, it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of big players with money. I mean, you might argue that Google and Amazon have some parking garages for their technology folks that might cost hundreds of millions of dollars themselves, the parking garages. So there's just people out there with money, and I know when people hear $1 billion, it sounds like a great number. But one of my challenges with some of what Gary Keller's doing is that I think he's taking his past experience as a great educator and great real estate franchisor and believing that it immediately is going to translate into success in technology. And there's been some people that have put their opinions out there, and I don't need to, get too deep into mine. I'm not trying to offend any of my friends at Keller Williams. I'm just trying to say that I disagree. And I've actually told Gary this himself. Kevin and I were in some rooms with Gary last year before we went over to EXP ourselves, Aaron, where we said, Gary, it seems like you're picking a lot of fights. You want to beat the iBuyers. You want to beat the technology game. You want to beat all the other franchisors. You're picking a lot of fights. You want to beat every mortgage company out there. And there's only so many fights you can pick, and there's only so much time in the day, and there's only so much money, and you're the guy that wrote the book, The One Thing. And, I know it's easy to say that, you're not focused on all of them, that there's other great people that are doing that. But, Gary's done nothing but step back into the role more over the last few years. And I respect that. I'm not bashing him for that. I will say that his story's changed over the years, as have my stories, but sometimes we all don't recognize that. Gary's a brilliant storyteller. That's one of the things I would tell people. And I say that respectfully, but I also say that in that you have to really hone in and listen to what he says. On one hand, he'll say we're a technology company. And then at Mega Camp last year, he came out and said, I said we were a technology company, and that kind of ruffled a lot of feathers. But understand, I wasn't talking to you guys as agents of Keller Williams. I was actually just making a statement for the public so we could attract technology talent. So there's just a lot of these stories in this, gift he's trying to wrap up and try to fit for everybody. And he has a difficult job, man. Gary is stuck in the world of franchisors and real estate agents and also trying to beat technology. And I don't envy the position he's in. I admire that he's trying to do what's best for his company, and he therefore also thinks it's in the best interest of his agents. So I respect him for that. I don't agree on the approach all the time. And anyhow, so I'll turn it back over to you. I just want to give a couple of my thoughts that you kind of spurred there.
Yeah, and I'll interject a little bit on the technology because, yes, I am an active real estate agent helping lots of families with buying and selling real estate. I also own a tech company that I've owned for 10 years now. And our job is to aggregate data from multiple sources and package it up to make it consumer and professional friendly. And even though I'm like small potatoes just servicing the whole state of Colorado, and Gary Keller has a world to worry about, I know just in the state of Colorado, we looked at expanding our services, but gathering the data, aggregating all the data, scrubbing it, and getting it all to communicate was a massive challenge. And one of our owners is a website designer and developer, and another owner is the data aggregator. And so we have the dream team to do it, and it was almost nearly impossible to do it. Gary's going to have to spend a lot of money and a lot of time to make it work. Personal opinion here, I don't think it'll ever work in the way he intends it on working and with congruency among all the markets he's in. I just can't imagine that happening.
I agree with you on that. And hear us out, Keller Williams agents. This is not us saying that the technology sucks and you can't use it and you won't find
it. It's actually awesome.
Yeah, we're not saying that. What we're saying is the complete story that's being told is, in our opinions, not going to play out the way that it's being told today. It doesn't mean that you may not find value in it. I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, there's a lot of technology platforms I use. Like, we bought Infusionsoft back in the day, Aaron. When you first started working with us in 2014, we worked on it. Now, what I thought we would get out of Infusionsoft and what we got were two different things, but we still managed to use it and sell 300 and some odd houses together in 2015. So my point is not that you can't use the technology. My point is that the manner in which it's being talked about may never be fully delivered. The other thing that I find interesting, Aaron, and I'm curious on what Gary said in the room that you were in a couple months ago, I've heard him on multiple occasions say that they're going to build an end-to-end consumer and agent experience technology, so all of it under one roof. But then also more recently, he has become suddenly okay with bolt-on technology. He's talked bad about bolt-on in the past, but now all of a sudden they have bought some other companies and added some bolt-on capabilities. So again, my point here is I'm not bashing him, but I'm wanting people to understand and slow down and hear that Gary Keller's story is changing over time. And that's not bad. I'm not calling him a liar or anything for that. But what I'm saying is that if you're believing all the hype necessarily or taking it all at face value today, it's going to change. That's what our industry does. That's what technology does. That's what Gary's approach and Josh's approach going forward will also do.
From my perspective, it is all based on bolt-on technology. The platform has to be, because unless Gary owns all MLSs in all markets, or unless Gary owns the data service company that collects all of the public record information, which I don't think he does, it's all bolt-on. It's all dependent on other service providers providing the data that he's using to aggregate it and package it up. I'll add one thing that he did say.
And real quick, sorry, Aaron, just to point out, he also, they've partnered with Nextdoor. So that's also where a lot of this stuff they're talking about, where they have neighborhood specific data, which, by the way, Aaron, I had the chance to play around in KW Command the other day on somebody's computer. And I had the ability to go in and type in my community and everything else. And the community specific stuff in Command today works really good in Austin, Texas, but there's nothing in Phoenix, Arizona right now. Like in my community, Las Sendas in Mesa, Arizona, it pulled up like 4 restaurants. Like it didn't pull up any neighborhood specific data. And the data that they are getting, please understand that data is coming from Nextdoor. Nextdoor is the provider of that data. They have a service agreement with Nextdoor. So again, we're just trying to highlight maybe some of the story that's not told, or some of our opinions and feelings on things. Not saying none of it'll work, just that there's more to the story.
Well, so one of the things he said in the room is that the app that they're building, especially on the consumer-facing app, is a capture and hold concept. His words were, it's about building a relationship through the app. Now, last I checked, my clients didn't hire me because I have an awesome app. In fact, I don't even think I have an awesome app, but I'm a really successful real estate agent because I'm the one that's guiding the client through advising on locations and sending them properties that frankly, the MLS already provides, and companies like Nextdoor provide as well. I think that with the technology that's coming out, whether it's Keller Williams Redfin, all the iBuyer noise, all these tech companies that are coming in and buying properties, making offers sight unseen. Keller Williams is working on an iBuyer platform. Other brokerages are, OfferPad, Open Door, Zillow is. There's so many options now. And I think especially with real estate brokerages trying to fight for the attention of the consumer's eyes, that just causes more noise, frustration, options, and a forest of options. And now here we have to bring it back into providing value and being the go-to advisor for the consumer to let them know what's best. And something I'll add as well from sitting in the room is that I was sitting in the back of the room quietly. I accidentally opened up my laptop for a minute and I have an EXP sticker on the back. And so I closed it real quick, like, because it was in a room of Keller Williams agents, but other people were on their computers as well. And the one guy sitting in front of me, I noticed at one point glanced, I wasn't spying or anything, but I noticed he was logging into his Hotmail to check his emails. And the lady sitting in the row in front of him had her laptop open. And I'm not exaggerating, there were no less than 90 icons on her desktop, her main screen on her computer. I'm not knocking that. For those that use Hotmail or that's their way of organizing, that's great, that's fine. But I will add that those are probably not the early adopters that are taking technology opportunities and running with it. And so all this hype about the technology they're coming out with is only as good as the people that are implementing it and using it. And what's the average age of a real estate agent? 57, 58 years old? There's tech people that are over 70 years old. My mother-in-law has a degree in technology, and that's great. And she's over 70. I don't know that she'd want me to share that, but there it is. The point is, it's only as good as the people that are using it, and you have to have widespread adoption there. And I just don't know that real estate agents are on that page.
Well, if I could add something too, Aaron, going back to the app and everything else, like one of my big challenges is that Gary Keller has always taught us. I was a Keller Williams agent for 11 years. I was part of his, top 100 masterminds and some other masterminds for 9+ years. And one thing I always respected about him is that he taught us that we were the brand, right? And so some of my problems with the app technology is that the app technology is directly branded to Keller Williams. And so if I wake up one day and don't want to be associated with Keller Williams, I find myself in a situation where my clients are now tied into his technology. Now, that's good for him, right? But I don't know if it's as good for me as an agent. I also just have the challenge that, let's say it is good for me and it is good for him and I would want to stay there. My other challenge is that what differentiates me from the brand new agent that gets the real estate license tomorrow and joins Keller Williams and has that same app technology, right? There's some other things that have been pointed out that haven't been solved with the app. First of all, the consumer app, to my information, hasn't even been released. I believe I saw that's supposedly coming later this year. And I'm not trying to make everybody mad, but I'm doing this supposedly because none of KW's tech rollouts have been on time. Let's just be really honest and straight about that. That's not a shot, that's a fact. But my other challenge is that, what do we do, Aaron? You and I, like, let's say you left Group 4610, Aaron. You have at least a handful of my personal sphere clients in your database because I've given them to you to buy houses in Denver, Colorado. And what would I do, like, if they've downloaded your app? Can I get them on my app too? Do I have the ability? You know what I'm saying? So there's some inherent problems with us all using the same technology platform and having some of the same contacts in the platform, and then the technology not being branded to us as the agent when we've been taught all these years. And I firmly believe the agent is still the brand, not the company. So I believe a lot of Gary Keller and Keller Williams technology moves are under the guise of protecting the agent, and some of them are protecting the agent, but I believe that the foundation behind which they're building everything is to protect Keller Williams. And again, I don't fault him. That's a smart business move, but you got to be real careful as an agent how much of that technology you adapt and how much you get your clients into that. In my opinion, that's where you and I kind of felt like not really resonating with where Keller Williams technology is going.
Yeah. So when I met with Gary, we were talking about some of the struggles that you and I, Fred, had and many others are having with the expansion model at Keller Williams. And he just interrupted me and stopped me from bringing anything up regarding that, saying, nope, the problem's solved. We've solved the problem. It'll launch by the end of the year. I met with him in November, and to my knowledge, that hasn't been solved yet.
No, it has not. There's been an indie model thrown around and all kinds of different things, but none of it's happened yet.
When we talked about the technology that was coming out, he told me that the goal is to have it ready to launch by Family Reunion, which is the big Keller Williams convention that just happened this week, and at the very latest March 1st. And now he's talking about it launching in the second quarter. And I'm a technology guy. I get that. Like, in fact,
Yeah.
if you multiply the estimated time for either a construction project, like physical construction, or technology, multiply it by pi, that's how actually long, it's a scientific fact. That's how long it takes for things to actually get done. So I get it, but holding on to people and selling them on coming into an organization and selling them on we're this close from it happening and it keeps getting pushed back isn't really an attractive idea, because it doesn't feel like we're being told the truth, or there's misrepresentations of what's really going on.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have anything else you want to share from that meeting, or any additional thoughts on KW Tech, or would you mind if we transitioned? If you don't, anyway, I want to share a little bit about EXP Tech and kind of what I do like about that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and transition. That sounds good.
Okay, cool. Well, so I was going to share a little bit, I mean, you and I obviously know this, but what I really appreciate about EXP is they have what they call EXP Enterprise. It's basically our home-based technology platform for everything we do. So often people know about EXP World, but nobody knows about EXP Enterprise unless you're an agent in the company, right? So EXP World is obviously our virtual campus that has been referred to as Donkey Kong technology, which is kind of funny because, there's some different people and businesses around the country that use that. I don't know what it is with Gary and poking fun at EXP, but anyway, that's between him and EXP. But I find it to be EXP World, first of all, to be a highly time-saving, very efficient technology system by which to get support, by which to get training, and by which to collaborate with people. And then the enterprise technology is obviously sort of the underbelly, if you will, of the technology that tracks all of our data and allows us to see our transaction history and see lots of other different things that are going on in the company. So I'm not the guy to say that EXP has the technology game figured out, but I will say that I am more aligned with EXP's technology and being a virtual company. I think that lines up more with where our world is already going. I was in another state, Aaron, earlier this week, and I was telling some people that were kind of like, well, I don't know about joining a virtual company. And I was like, well, most people spend 5 to 10 hours a week in a virtual world called Facebook, and we don't think anything of it. In fact, many people are watching us on that platform right now. So I don't know why it'd be any different to teach a class or whatever else it may be or attend a class or get support in a virtual world called EXP World. What I also like, Aaron, I don't know if you were part of the EXP leadership meeting this morning, and I won't do the whole thing justice, but one of the things that I picked up in that meeting this morning is that they're rolling out a new tool by which people can suggest different technology things that they're interested in, and then they're going to allow EXP agents to basically grade and rate and provide feedback on which tools are most important to them. So you could say KW is doing the same with Labs, but I believe Labs is a storytelling presentation about what we're going to do for you. Maybe initially Labs was to get feedback, but it became more about what we're going to do for you. EXP is actually getting users' feedback in an anonymous format by which to figure out what other bolt-on technology and what other pieces to bring to the table. So I don't know, it's just a completely different approach to technology, and I just really align with where EXP is going.
Yeah, I love that EXP is bringing in other really great technologies. I actually made a suggestion as soon as the request for suggestions started coming out, adding a showing service, because if we can all save money and use the best tool for that service in Colorado, why not align with them rather than trying to bash them or crush them or replace them and upset other people in the industry and vendors?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'll give a couple of my closing thoughts and then turn it over to you. I think, first of all, like my heart on this share is, I do want to differentiate and be clear on kind of what I resonate with at Keller Williams versus EXP. I'll quickly just say, and this, Aaron, that people ask all the time, why'd you and Kevin leave with Keller Williams. And the best summary I can give people is just to say, I didn't resonate with the direction of where things were going. And when I say resonate, I'm not trying to say that I'm smarter than Gary Keller. That's not my point. My point is that you just get a feeling about a company of like, is this a good fit for me? Do I agree with some of the direction of where things are going? Do I like the culture and the belief system here around fundamental things that are going to be in our business? And ultimately for me, I didn't. And I think you may have gone through a different experience, yet some similarities to that when you got flown out to Austin and got to spend some time with Gary. But what I will say is, I love EXP. I've recently shared 35 things I love about EXP. I won't do that here in this video. I'm happy to send anybody a recording. But I just, I think for anybody out there that's had any experience with Keller Williams and EXP, at the end of the day, I think it's important we all know we work and operate in a cooperative environment. And so at the end of the day, it's okay for us to disagree on different things and to not be at each other's company. But at the end of the day, we all have to get along. This video was not intended to divide us any further. It was just to share some thoughts because you've gotten asked a lot of questions. You and I get asked a lot on, well, what didn't you like about KW technology from KW agents and non-KW agents and EXP agents? So just thought what better thing than just kind of share your story, because you get hit up a lot on that, and share some different opinions that we kind of have. And I'm open to some challenging opinions. So I'd love to read some comments from people on stuff you disagree with us on. I actually think that's how we get better. That's a true lab right there, when we're able to disagree with each other and do it in a respectful manner, and we all leave better because of it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you shared why we made the choice to transition over to EXP. And I'll close out with my reason for, despite a very, very attractive offer of coming back to Keller Williams, the ultimately reason why I stayed at EXP is because I see the future opportunity and I see where the company is going, and I believe in it. The technology, the resources and training, the administrative support, instant access to that, and the future opportunity for the growth of this company. I'll give you some small numbers right now. In Colorado, there's about 400, and that's not a small number, by the way. There's about 400 EXP agents in the entire state, and there are currently around 47,000 licensed brokers in the state of Colorado, licensed agents in the state of Colorado, of which 26,500 are realtors. So they're paying extra money to be a part of this organization because they believe in the future of our industry. It's not a cheap expense. So theoretically, they are also active producing real estate agents. And so with 26,500 realtors and only 400 of them are currently EXP, we're onboarding about 30 to 40 a month right now nationally, and in 3 provinces in Canada, we're onboarding about 1,000 agents a month into EXP, which is just massive. And I see the future potential and the future growth, and I want to be a part of the fun. And so whatever brokerage you're at doesn't, we can put Keller Williams aside at this point. This is making real estate fun again. That's been said time and time again. It's a really great culture, lots of collaboration, tons of support, and it's just a great place to be.
Yeah, and I'll kind of end on this. What I love about EXP is I feel like I kind of went back in time and joined maybe what Keller Williams used to feel like. I'll just say that. I used to love the entrepreneurial environment that was in Keller Williams. And what I love and respect about EXP is it's not a franchise. And most people think when I say that, I mean, oh, you just didn't want to pay the franchise fee. Nah, it's not about the 6% franchise fee. What it is about it's about a company that's in 50 states and a couple Canadian provinces and soon to be a few other countries that is operating under one roof, that when they want to do something, they can replicate that throughout the entire country and throughout the entire world. And I love Gary Keller, but I honestly think if he had to go back in time, he said before, I've heard him on multiple occasions say he would go back in time and he wouldn't have franchised. He would have just built a big, basically Gary Keller real estate team. And, I feel it to a degree, like that's kind of what EXP is. It's a non-franchised, one company under one roof, the ability to shift and change. And for those of us that are at EXP and also taking advantage of the growth opportunity, it's kind of like we bought a real estate brokerage. We just didn't pay any money for it. We don't have any liability, but we get the upside of growing it, and we get to be a part of a fun, collaborative environment where it's easy and fun to do real estate in. And so, and we're breaking down all those old stigmas of no top producers are at EXP and there's nobody. I mean, that stuff may have been true a while ago. It's definitely not true anymore. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of this company. So Aaron, man, thanks for sharing your story, buddy. I really appreciate it. I'm sure a couple people may reach out to you and ask some more questions. I hope we both remain professional and respectful. I feel like we tried our darndest to do that. I think you got to be able to express your differences and your opinions without being judged as somebody who is a hater. And I hope that was the tone that we both came across with today.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day. Have fun out there. And let us know if you have any questions.
Later.
Bye.